Welcome to Passion for the Pastime, where baseball lives 24/7, 365. Catch conversations with beat writers, broadcasters, current and former players of all levels. Now here's your host,
Walter Balsetta. Whoops, I fumbled. I got to get out of here.
Walter Balsetta.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday edition, pre-recorded edition of Passion for the Pastime. As I told you guys last night, I had some prior obligations, but that doesn't mean the content stops. So this will be airing at 6 o'clock tonight, as all of our shows do. And yeah, just want to kind of break down what's been going on with the starting pitching market. Obviously, last night we talked about Max Fried getting his big paycheck with the New York Yankees, and that kind of stemmed from the Yankees missing out on Juan Soto. It's all a ripple effect. So how does it trickle down to the Giants? How does it trickle down to Corbin Burnes and the rest of the starting pitching market? We'll get into that, but welcome in to Passion for the Pastime, day 3 on the podcast on YouTube. And remember to go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe, and turn on your notifications, because yesterday it was a busy day. We had Max Fried sign that huge contract, and I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait until 6 o'clock. I actually went live from the pier on my way home on my scooter. Shout out Rock New Era. He asked me if I was going to be able to do a show from my scooter. I did, but if you didn't have the notifications on, you have to turn them on, and you'll get all the breaking news that we will have across the offseason, because this is the week. I mean, winter meetings, rumors galore. The signings are just so impactful, and how it impacts the individual player, how it impacts the markets, how it impacts the teams, the divisions. I mean, there's such a huge ripple effect with everything going down at the winter meetings, which should be concluding later today. Again, I'm recording this at 7:21 a.m. So I'm going to try to keep it evergreen because hopefully Corbin Burnes doesn't sign from now until 6 o'clock. But if he does, let's hope that he comes to the Giants, and then I could just scrap this whole thing, and I'll just be doing a breaking news pod with you guys from my phone, from wherever I am, because that is what we're going to do. But remember to hit the subscribe, hit a like, and turn on your notifications to get every single second of the action from Passion for the Pastime. My name is Walter Sasaki. For those of you who don't know me and are new to the channel, I work at KNBR, have worked at KNBR since 2019, and just kind of gone up from working in promotions to doing some show producing, or not some show producing for Greg Papa and John Lund, and now for Greg Papa and Greg Silver, the Gregs, my two Gregs. And that's what I'm doing now. And baseball has always been my love, right? And last year I started doing the Giants warm-up shows, the pre-games leading up to first pitch, be able to talk to the broadcasters, go into the booth, talk to Dave Fleming, talk to John Miller, talk to Joe Rizzo, and maybe at some point we'll be able to get them on the podcast here and have some conversations about this new look Giants team under Buster Posey, which is just turning out to be very, very nice at the moment, with Willie Adames and his press conference going down tomorrow. You'll catch that live on KNBR at 11:30. But yeah, no, I was doing the Giants warm-up shows and last year, and I did the podcast, a weekly podcast on the weekends called Rounding Third and King. You can check all that out. I'm going to eventually merge those interviews that I had with Bob Kedrick, with Javi Lopez, Hunter Pence, Rich Aurelia, Randy Wynn. I'll merge those interviews over to my YouTube page so you guys can check out the work that I've done over the past 12 months. But I mean, there's interviews galore if you go back and look wherever you get your podcast, because this is the first time that we're on YouTube. First time we're on YouTube, but this podcast has existed for many years. So there's tons of interviews out there. So if you go wherever you look to get your podcast, go on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, just type in Passion for the Pastime, and you'll be able to see all the fun interviews that I've done in the past and that I hope to bring to this YouTube stream as well. But that's enough about me. Got to break that down and just let you guys know it's been 5 minutes into this. I can be long-winded. I do work with Greg Papa. I learn it from him. the king of monologuing. But let's go ahead and get into this action, man, because yesterday it marked a big day, and I'm gonna keep my phone right in front of me just in case something breaks. And I was talking with Katie Wu. I'm hoping to have her on at some point this season or this week, because there's been a lot of interesting news coming out of St. Louis with Nolan Arenado and what happens with Paul Goldschmidt and his trajectory and what he can still bring, because I know that first base has been a topic of conversation for the Giants to make some additions, but and then also Sonny Gray has been floated around at the winter meetings as far as trade pieces, right? So hopefully we can get a conversation going with Katie Wu either this week or next week, just so we can get a breakdown on everything that's going on in St. Louis and how that pertains to the San Francisco Giants. But yesterday, Max Fried signed that massive deal with the New York Yankees. 8 years, $218 million. That surpasses the contract for, I believe it was David Price, with 7 years. I believe it was $217 million as being the richest contract to a left-handed starting pitcher. So Max Fried goes to the Yankees. And what that meant, and we talked about it yesterday, is now all eyes turn to Corbin Burnes. And I kind of floated out there last night when we were talking about this on the podcast, on the live show with everybody that was in the chat. That directly affects the starting pitching market, but it directly affects the Giants in their pursuit to Corbin Burnes, because Corbin Burnes, you figure that he would make more than what Max Fried would get. Fried got the years. He got 8 years. That's a bit much. But he got the $218 million. That's what we're focusing on. We're not focusing on the length of the contract, because I think that it'll be a little bit less. So the AAV for Corbin Burnes will be much higher than what Max Fried is receiving. I never did do the math. I wasn't good at that. When I talked to Danny yesterday, I tried to do it on the fly. I still don't know what 8 divided or 218 million divided by 8. I can do that real quick while I'm thinking about it. But pretty much, the thought process behind that is, that Corbin Burnes is going to. Oh, I was pretty close. I said 26. It's 27 and a quarter. 27 and a quarter. That's what the AAV is for Max Fried for those 8 years. So you figure if you go to Corbin Burnes, right? If you go with Corbin Burnes, he's going to make more than what Max Fried got, 218. That's the number. So yesterday I was saying that the number now that you're looking at is between 225, probably higher than that. I probably should lowballed it a little bit, but realistically 220, right? Because you're going to make more, 220 to 250 range, right? So yesterday I saw a piece from Mark Feinstein of the of MLB.com, MLB Network, put out a piece just how it all I think it happened he put it out during our show, so I didn't see it necessarily in real time, but I read it this morning. Essentially, the dollar amount for Corbin Burnes is figured in right around 240 million. And why that is significant is because that is obviously more money. But if you go ahead and put 240 over, because how old is Corbin Burnes? He's going into his 30 season, and how much time or how much length is too much, right? I mean, when you start going 6 years, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's 6 years. 6 years would be 40 million for a AAV if he came in at 240, right? So if you go another year past that, it's 34 and just above a quarter, 34.28 million dollars if you go 7 years for 240. Now, I don't know if the Giants are in that type of stratosphere. I would love to see Corbin Burnes. I would love to see Corbin Burnes in orange and black, because we saw what he looked like in Baltimore with those colors. He looks pretty damn good. So just shifting over to the West Coast, pitching in that ballpark, because we know the stuff that he has. I know that there's been a little bit of conversation as far as his innings pitched, right? I believe that it was in the past 2 seasons. He's pitched over 650 innings, I believe, what the number was. Maybe it was the last 3 seasons. Sounds a bit beefy. But yes, that is a lot on an arm. But you know what you're getting out of Corbin Burnes. He is a top end starter, something that this team, I think, desperately needs. I mean, that's why there was so much traction on Blake Snell coming to the San Francisco Giants last year, because of, you saw what that potential is, right? With Logan Webb and Blake Snell. Obviously, the first half of the season, it was a wash. But then you saw once Blake Snell, once that number 2 starter came in, obviously the team had problems elsewhere. So it didn't matter if Blake Snell was here from the beginning from beginning to finish. It didn't matter. But the fact that you have a number 2 starter or a 1A, 1B type situation at the top of the rotation, and there's just so many question marks. You don't want to go into next year with question marks. Corbin Burnes doesn't give you that question mark. I understand that he has a lot of innings on that arm. I get it. Are there concerns for injury? Are there concerns for setbacks? Are there concerns? I mean, yeah, you got to factor all that in. But one thing is, and I haven't seen the Dodgers be linked to Corbin Burnes. So that's a good thing. You never know what the hell the Padres are doing, because I saw even trade rumors that Dylan Cease could be up on the trading block or being discussed in trades. I don't know what the hell the Padres are doing. I don't think the Padres know what the hell the Padres are doing. But could they flip Dylan Cease for some type of minor league package and then just, oh, hey, we got off of that money, but let's go get Corbin Burnes? Yeah, the Padres could do that. So I'm just thinking, in the sense of all the teams that have been listed as potential suitors, obviously everyone that missed out on Max Fried. That's why the signing with the Yankees was so huge, because you get the Yankees out of the equation right now. And I'm not saying that all these teams are gonna, lay down and let the Giants just have their way with Corbin Burnes and signing the contract. I'm not saying that at all, but I feel much more comfortable with the Giants going into a pitch, into battle in negotiations against the Blue Jays, against the Red Sox. The Rangers scare me a little bit, but they kind of not solved their issues, but they went a different direction in their starting pitching and went Nathan Eovaldi, brought him back for that 3-year deal. So I don't know how much they're in on a starting pitcher at this moment in time. Maybe they are. But when you just look at the 3 teams that are listed, with the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Giants, you have to think that the Giants have the upper hand. If you're Corbin Burnes, do you want to go pitch in the AL East anywhere? Do you want to deal with the Yankees? Do you want to deal with pitching at Fenway? I mean, what are we doing? Like, the ballpark that is most suited for pitchers is San Francisco. And you look at the division, there's other ballparks that are favorable. Obviously, no one wants to go to Colorado, but you deal with it. You're not going to pitch there every single time. You know what I mean? But pitching in San Francisco, there is a lot to be, or not a lot to be desired. There's a lot of desire for pitchers to come to San Francisco. It's never been a problem with pitchers coming to the Bay Area. That has been the calling card. Pitchers that are on the decline and want to revitalize their career. Go look back at Carlos Rodon. He got his paycheck. Not saying that Corbin Burnes needs this, but all I'm saying is, when you look at Carlos Rodon, when you look at Kevin Gausman, those are guys that came in as reclamation projects, and they used their time in San Francisco, beefed up their numbers, learned some stuff, and went and got a paycheck. Now, it's a different situation with Corbin Burnes, but I'm saying all of this as a long-winded way of saying pitchers perform well in San Francisco. And even if it's a length of time that makes you feel uncomfortable, right? I mean, we're talking about Barry Zito type length. Even if it's a time frame that makes you feel uncomfortable, you have to be happy with Corbin Burnes coming to San Francisco for at least the 5 years. Because I think ideally would be a 5-year deal. But the reality of it and the market of it That's not going to happen. And if it does happen, you're paying a massive AAV, which the Giants can do. They don't have a lot of committed money right now. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the Giants end up doing with Corbin Burnes, with the starting pitching market. I still don't have any notifications right now on my phone. Let me just go ahead and pull this up. Yeah, nothing else going on right now at the winter meetings. So as of right now, Corbin Burnes is the hottest piece on the market for the starting pitching market. But also there is Roki Sasaki. I know we talked on it a little bit yesterday. And just with all this starting pitching, right? You know that it's going to cost you top dollar. And Roki Sasaki, his agent Joel Wolf, came out and made some comments about Roki Sasaki, pretty much saying that when he spoke with reporters, that Roki is going to be beginning to speak with teams starting next week. And Sasaki is open-minded, and allegations that he has a predetermined home are false. And this is all going into, oh, well, Roki Sasaki is going to LA. He's going to go play with Ohtani. That's his hero. That's who we want. That's where he wants to go. That's predetermined. There's no market. No, don't even bother. Right. So that could be, those statements could all be said to generate a market for Roki Sasaki, to make other teams, to make other markets feel like they have a shot at Roki Sasaki. I do feel like he is going to end up being a Dodger. If he isn't, I will be surprised. I saw a news blurb. I'm not sure when it's going down. I think it might be on Monday. But his tour starts in Seattle, and Ichiro Suzuki is going to be there for the pitch. I mean, if he ends up in Seattle, they don't need pitching. They need hitting. But I mean, if he ends up in Seattle, that would be fantastic. Just because he's not on the Dodgers, man. Anywhere but down south. Anywhere but the Dodgers is fine with me with Roki Sasaki. But yeah, so there was comments being made that he can end up in a middle market, that he's not looking for the limelight type markets. So then that, and he's not only restricted to the West Coast. So then you start to figure, okay, well, where else can he end up going? Could he go to Chicago? Could he go, to Milwaukee? Can he go to St. Louis? Like, I don't know. There's all these other possibilities with these teams just throwing money out at whoever needs a starting pitcher. So Roki Sasaki is interesting in the fact that how highly regarded he is. 23-year-old star out of Japan. We all know what he can do. We've seen him in the World Baseball Classic. We've seen what he can do in Japan. You always wonder how much that translates over to stateside, to Major League Baseball. But his stuff plays. I mean, his stuff looks electric, and the fact that he's 23 years old, so you're going to be getting, his early point of his career, but you're going to be getting his prime also during this length of the contract. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And Buster, he spoke highly. He would be over the moon, was the direct quote, over the moon if Roki Sasaki signed with the San Francisco Giants. So then you kind of wonder, where are the priorities for the Giants? And that's kind of where everything kind of boils down to, because we all know that the traction has been Corbin Burnes for a good portion of time. For a good portion of time, Corbin Burnes has been at the top of the list for the San Francisco Giants as ever since Buster Posey has taken over as president of baseball operations. So when you look to what that tells you, is that the Giants are in on the starting pitching market. So does it come down to being Corbin Burnes or bust? Is it Corbin Burnes, Roki Sasaki, or bust? I mean, because are they trying to get that front end starter, I guess, is my question. Because I feel like that is something, especially with the departure of Blake Snell going down to Los Angeles, I think that is something that they need. Because also Buster has said at the winter meetings that the Giants, they like what they have in their young pitchers, right? I love me some Landon Roop. Do I expect him to be a number 2 or anything close to that? No, not right now. I mean, maybe years down the road, if development continues to trend upwards. But I'm not banking my season on Landon Roop. I'm not banking my season on Kyle Harrison finally learning how to throw off-speed pitches. I'm not banking on Hayden Birdsong coming in here and, continuing where he left off last season, which was pretty damn good. I mean, it was a great story. But I just listed 3 of the 5 starters for the Giants. They're all young. There's all growing pains. Now, is that something that the Giants right now in their current makeup, is that something that they value? Is that something that needs to be seen through, right? Because the elevator dance of Farhan, just calling up guys, sending them back down, calling them up, I think that's over with, right? For the most part. Kids, these young players in the organization, they're going to have their opportunity to sink or swim, right? And I think that Landon Roop is someone in there at the back end of the rotation. I think that Hayden Birdsong is someone in there at the back end, middle to the rotation. Kyle Harrison, he had that upside of being a number 1 starter, or not a number 1 starter, but a front end top tier starter, but it just hasn't happened. Now, can it happen? Of course. He is young in his development. I'm not kicking the tires on Kyle Harrison by any means, but from what we've seen from Kyle Harrison, what we've seen is that Kyle Harrison is potentially a middle, a high end 3 to a back end of the rotation type guy. I don't think that unless he figures out something with his off-speed pitches, and again, he can. I'm not saying that he can't. He's early in his development. What is he? 24 years old? That is young when it comes to baseball, right? And you always want these guys to come in and just be a finished product. No, that's never how it is. You're not always going to be a Steven Strasburg. You know what I mean? You're not always going to be a Paul Skeens. Like that's not realistic. But can he morph into being a more reliable front 3 than a unreliable back 2? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where Kyle Harrison sits right now in my mind as far as the rotation. So you have 3 unproven pitchers, 3 I wouldn't say unexperienced, but 3 younger guys in the rotation. Then you have Robbie Ray, who's still coming back from Tommy John surgery. Obviously, the more that he gets removed, the further removed he is from said surgery, from Tommy John surgery. You got 7-9 starts last year. The further he gets removed from it, we'll see. I mean, it's better. It's better for him the further that he's removed, but we'll see what he can get to. Like, I mean, he still had Tommy John surgery. I know that it's not a black eye on any pitcher now that gets Tommy John. We've seen people come back and excel and perform at high levels coming back from that surgery. Back in the day, 12 years ago, you get Tommy John, that's it, dude. Like you're cooked. Like that's not someone that you want to rely on long term. So we'll have to see what Robbie Ray is, but again, that is more of a question mark. Can he emerge and resurface as being a Cy Young Award candidate? Right? I mean, that's what he did when he was in Arizona, I believe, when he won that Cy Young Award. But where was he? I want to say he was in Arizona when he won the Cy Young Award. But Cy Young Award winner Robbie Ray, right? I mean, that sounds great, but he's not that guy anymore. Can he come back and be that guy? Potentially. But again, you are banking for a lot of things to go right in the Giants rotation to where you got a guy, Corbin Burnes, sitting right in front of you. And the dollar amount, you know what it is. You don't have a lot of committed money. And also, teams need pitching. For these teams, for the Blue Jays, and I know I've been saying it for time and time and time again, let's just say the Giants go and get Corbin Burnes. Blue Jays and Red Sox are still looking for pitching. And I know that there's a lot of guys, and I'm not saying that these would be anything enticing for any of these teams. But, when you look to the next tier of pitchers, you got Sean Manaea, you got Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander. A lot of those guys are older. Sean Manaea had a fantastic year with the Mets. Walker Buehler coming off of, I think he had Tommy John as well, coming off of injury. So we'll have to see what the market is generated for Walker Buehler. Now, would you rather, because of these Giants young pitchers, would you rather go in on some of these lesser names, not lesser names, but more well-known names at a lesser price and less years because you're hoping that your farm system can generate? You're hoping that Landon Roop, that Hayden Birdsong, that Kyle Harrison, that Carson Wisenhunt, Carson Seymour. I mean, you start going down the line of pitchers in the Giants organization, Mason Black, Tristan Beck. You're hoping that these guys can morph into being starters, MLB starters in a rotation. So then do you not commit that money? But then you could also go the other way, which is the way that I'm kind of thinking, is you put in that money to Corbin Burnes. You lock him up for 7 years. You have him with the same length of contract with Willy Adames, right? You have Logan Webb, Willy Adames, Matt Chapman, and Corbin Burnes. That's your core. Sounds pretty damn good. I just realized that could be the core. Sounds pretty damn good. So you have Corbin Burnes there. Then the pieces in your organization and the pitching standpoint, they kind of become, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but less important to your long-term success. With these guys, with these teams, the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, looking at pitchers, is there a chance that the Giants can throw them Carson Wisenhunt, give them Kyle Harrison as well? Because we wanted him to be that front end starter. Well, we have that now with Corbin Burnes. We don't need Kyle Harrison. Go Carson Wisenhunt, go Kyle Harrison, throw in a bat. Let me get Vlad Jr. All I'm saying is that is a possibility. That's a door. That's a pathway that you open up with getting Corbin Burnes. And maybe I'm taking these guys' value way too high. Maybe the Blue Jays are just like, no, we're not doing that. And then the other caveat to that is, if you do that, Vlad's contract expires after this season. So it's like, all right, well, you're getting rid of those prospects, you better bring them back, right? That's the other big thing. But then you can go and maybe shop. So there's a trade out there, because I'm so fixated. I have tunnel vision on Vlad Jr. Again, he is on my desk bobblehead, got his autographed ball right behind me up there. I'm so fixated on Vlad Jr. I want it to happen because he's one of my favorite players. I want that to happen. But maybe there's a trade somewhere else. Maybe there's a lesser trade with someone that is, and I have to go dive into this. We'll have all the offseason to talk about it. But maybe there is somewhere else. Maybe it's being discussed that there are other options that you have years of control, because that's the thing that you want with the Giants. You want hitters under control. You don't want to have to keep paying hitters to come here, because the track record isn't good. Hitters do not want to come here. But then that's also the thing. Well, pitchers want to come here. Do we have to pay top dollar for a Corbin Burnes? I mean, we can pay lesser money for Walker Buehler or something along those lines. So I would love to have everybody's thoughts. Obviously, this is recorded, so go ahead and drop down in the comments. Let me know what you think about all of this news and all these possibilities. What would you prefer to do? Do you want to bank on these young guys? Do you want to go after Corbin Burnes? Do you want to go for these lesser tier guys, the tier under Corbin Burnes and Roki Sasaki, and kind of hope on the development of Carson Wisenhunt and Tristan Beck, Mason Black, all these guys, Kyle Harrison, Hayden Birdsong? Is that something that you guys want to see the Giants do as well? And then also, talking about trades, there's been a lot of rumors. Obviously, the winter meetings are concluding, but there's been a lot of rumors being thrown around with Framber Valdez. That'd be a nice piece. Dylan Cease has been thrown out there. He has 1 year remaining on his deal. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if the Padres were to trade him out at one point and still be competitive. I don't understand. They don't have a direction, but they just kind of like throw shit at the wall, and it works for some reason. I don't understand how that happens. You go look at the Mariners. again, depending, I mean, hell, if they go and get Roki Sasaki, you bet they could trade Luis Castillo for a bat. I mean, who wouldn't love to have Luis Castillo? He has 3 years remaining on his deal. Sonny Gray, we mentioned earlier with Katie Wu. Hopefully we'll have her on the show at some point this week. Sonny Gray, 2 years left on his $75 million deal, but he does have a full no trade clause in that deal as well. Jesus Luzardo, he's controllable through 2026 with the Marlins. He's someone that has been thrown out there. Obviously, Garrett Crochet, it was linked a lot with the Yankees, but now that the Yankees have gotten Max Fried, there's not really the need for a trade. But also, you look at that Max Fried deal, the price for Garrett Crochet just skyrocketed with that, because maybe he ends up getting traded to the Mets, because the Mets were looking at the starting pitching market as well. So maybe he ends up getting traded to the Mets. Maybe he ends up getting traded to the Blue Jays or the Red Sox. But just know that price shot up tremendously after that Max Fried deal of 8 years, $218 million. That is incredible. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. We will get back to it live on Thursday. We'll be up against Thursday Night Football. I'll have the game on. We'll be watching. I'll crack open a beer. We'll watch some football together. But we'll talk some breaking news. We'll talk some trade possibilities. We'll throw it out there, and yeah, we'll continue to have this thing going, man. And thank you all for listening to Passion for the Pastime. I'm going to end this one here, a little bit shorter, pre-recorded show. 30 minutes is probably what I'm going to be doing if I do these pre-recordeds throughout the week. There will be a couple of days that I can't do live because of prior obligations, but we'll definitely be out here making the content and talking with you guys every single day. So remember to hit the like button on my videos on Passion for the Pastime. Remember to subscribe, and remember to set those notifications. I know that we are live Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. I know it's appointment listening for all of you, and you guys will all be here, but set your notifications, because if something goes down, I do my breaking news videos like I did on the pier on my scooter. Shout out Rockin' New Era. Told you I'd do it. Don't sell me short, Rockin' New Era. I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. That's what I do. That's how I get down. But remember to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and set your notifications. Don't miss out on the fun. Passion for the Pastime. It is a beautiful time. I love talking ball with you guys. And yeah, I'm going to end this one here. I'll talk to you guys on Thursday up against Thursday Night Football. We'll be watching some football here too, and we'll just crack open a beer. You can crack open a beer with me. You can even come on to the podcast. We'll see what we do. It's going to be a fun time. You guys have a good one. Have a good Wednesday, and hopefully the Giants get Corbin Burnes by the end of the day. We'll talk to you then.